everyone's like, why are surfers so chill? And it's like, because we are probably the most spiritual beings in the world, because we get to be one with the ocean at least once a week.
How's it? This is Dave from Hawaiian South Shore, and we're with somebody you probably don't see that often, but he's behind the scenes at Firewire. Can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Brett Savage. I am the GM of all surfboards, hard goods, and accessories over at Firewire and Slater Designs. I've been with the brand for 7 years, so been through a lot of designs and a lot of product in the last 7 years. So yeah, happy to be on. Happy to be on today.
So, what is your background? How did you get into being the product designer at Firewire?
Yeah, very interesting, good question. My background is actually in apparel and footwear. I
Uh-huh.
have a degree in clothing production. So when I came over to the US, I followed my brother, Mike Savage. He's my older brother, 11 years older than me, and he was the general manager finishing up at Billabong in Australia. So he moved to the US, and then I followed him out. Both him and my sister moved. I followed him out in the late 90s, and then quickly got a job with Bruce Barber over at Rusty with CNC Company. So I worked with Dak and Paul for a hot second there for about 2 or 3 years, and then went over to the O'Neill Group and worked with Lost. So Mike and Matt doing their apparel with Joel Cooper. And then Mark Price got me over from there to Reef. So I was the VP of product for Reef for 11 years. I didn't start off as a VP of product, but ended up as a VP of product. So I worked in the apparel and the footwear world, but then after the VF integration and stuff, I was there for quite a while, and then just got really to a point where I wanted a break from it all. It was a lot of work for many years. So I took a break and started consulting, started doing a lot of brand development consulting, when that was basically developing new product in all categories, getting like trademarks done, patents done, basically helping small brands scale, and then also helping bigger brands find their way back to their true north. So a lot of big brands that kind of migrated, lost their, let's call it sole purpose and where they were going, and they were basically chasing the money, and they were trying to revert back to their sole purpose. So I created this piece of software that allows to do like all this consumer mapping and navigation and stuff. So with that, I got a gig with Shannon North at Billabong for about 6 years as a consultant, together with Graham Stapleberg at the World Surf League as a consultant. And so I was very immersed in kind of the digital kind of consumer tracking, and then also marketing. So what that meant as far as packaging for product, and then the full circle of requirements that I needed to take the product to market with regards to marketing and speaking to the consumer, and really having a good product proposition that was real to where the brand was essentially trying to go, right? So in that time, I started working with Mark again, because Mark wanted some digital marketing stuff, including a new e-com site for Firewire. So I started working with Mark at the Firewire side in a marketing capacity, initially as a consultant, but then COVID hit. And as you remember, with COVID, immediately retail shut down. So what that meant for Firewire was that they needed a website real quick, because their website that they had was just a WordPress site. It wasn't actually working in the sense of doing transactions. And so I had to really stand up a site. So I took their WordPress site onto a Shopify platform and basically built them a site. And with all that came the need for more and more and more. So Mark got me on as the CMO. So my first job at Firewire was the Chief Marketing Officer. So here you got a product guy with apparel experience and footwear experience and the likes, getting into the hardware surfboard world. And a lot of people would ask why. And the reason why I could do this is because I had a lot of best practices from the VF Corporation days, from just working with really icons in the industry, with Joel Cooper, Mark Thompson, or you name like Dak and Paul from CNC Company, really powerful, knowledgeable folks. So I learned what to do and what not to do through the years. So I'm 53 years old, and I act like a 19-year-old. But the reason why I say this is because I started shaping boards when I was 16 years old in South Africa. My mother built me a shaping bay. My brother was a pro surfer on tour with with Mike Thompson, Sean Thompson, Mark Burness, the whole South African contingent back in the 80s. And so I was just addicted to making boards. So I started as a little snapper at 16 years old, shaping boards, laminating boards, putting glass on fins on boards back in the day, and doing it all myself. And you fast forward a couple of years, and I had built this little brand of surfboards in South Africa to the point where I actually got Graham Smith, Geordie's dad, who had G-Force, to laminate my boards because I couldn't keep up. So back then I was studying. I was in a big band in South Africa called the Apparel, which was the first white South African band to be signed internationally. So I was basically shaping boards on the road, touring with this huge band. We toured with Bon Jovi, Def Leppard, Tracy Chapman, a bunch of anyone that came into South Africa. We're the first white South African band after apartheid to be opened up to all these new bands that started touring after the trade embargo. So my story is pretty broad and pretty deep in the sense of where I come from, what I do, and how I ended up at Firewire. And it's pretty cool because the people at Firewire is really like a family. It is hard for me to hear the criticism sometimes about all these backyard shapers and like, oh, you make your boards out of China, which we don't. We make our boards out of Thailand. It's very different. We own our factory. Our workers in Thailand are like family. We pay them way more than minimum wage, and the list goes on and on about how we work together as this beautiful family of manufacturing vertical boards out of Thailand, and then we have our fin factory in South Africa. So we own what we own, and we kill. We eat what we kill, and we are fully vertical so that we don't burden our consumers with all these unnecessary middleman costs. And we are responsible for what we do. We try and make products that don't end up in landfills. They are quality and they stay out as long as possible. So my story goes from this 16-year-old shaper, goes through this crazy career with all this footwear and apparel and everything else, and chasing the dream. And honestly, at the end of the day, the dream was just all a facade and all a mirage, because really at the end of the day, I wanted to chase a purposeful life and making stuff that was real and selling fun essentially. And I ended up with Surfboards thanks to Mark Price, and now with Dylan Slater. Love working for Dylan. He's such a great human. And our family at now Slater Holdings Company, which is Firewire, Slater Designs, and Outerknown, it's such a beautiful union, and it's a very exciting time to be at those brands. So long-winded.
No, that was exciting. Yeah. So the people that are listening, they don't know. Mark Price was the former CEO, and Dylan's the current CEO. Just to throw that
correct.
in.
Yeah, Mark Price. Mark Price retired and went back to the motherland in South Africa, and is surfing the likes of J-Bay and other cool, breaks, and enjoying,
being 19,
the sunset retirement. Exactly. Yeah, he rips. Mark's like in his 60s and does, top turns like scar hooks, just creating, spray everywhere. So very jealous.
So what are you riding on a normal basis, or when you have time to go surf?
Yeah, great question. I have the fortunate job of overseeing all the design and development. So if you looked at my office, you would see my office is probably like 10 foot by 10 foot, and it's probably 90% full of boards, because, I have to make sure that our boards are somewhat pressure tested, right? So I'll ride everything. I love, my favorite board right now, and has been for a while, is the Boss Up, which is a mid-length, but it's kind of like a cheating mid-length. I ride a 6'8", so it feels like a short board, but it really gives me enough length to kind of get more waves in California. And then, you have to be honest about why we ride the boards we ride, because the waves are not great. The waves are not great in where we live. So, when you look at what we sell, you look at seasides, you look at all our mid-lengths, you look at longboards, our performance category is not really that big. Thanks for Kelly, it is significant, but, for me, I'm riding what the waves will allow me to ride, which is primarily like grovelers and mid-lengths. And, I've got the Groove right now, which I've got in the water, riding it as a quad, which is super fun. And then, the Machado Cardo has been such a fun board. But yeah, those are the ones I'm riding right now. So the Boss Up is my go-to. Love that board. Right now I'm riding the KS1s. So the KS1 set is the pivot set. It's a pivot fin set. So the fronts are pivot, they stand up a little bit more, but if you've got the quad fins in the back, those are very rake in their profile. So you get a blend between the fronts being like really stood up and then the backs being rake. So you get a lot of drive off those back fins, but when you're in the pocket and you want to turn, those front pivots allow you to give them like a way tighter turning circle. So good combo between the two. Speed and turn, that's great. Nothing better, especially in the mid-length or step-ups, because you get the push you need on that the longer rail, the drawn-out rail profile, because it's going to push you further out. But then those pivots allow you to kind of tuck it in a little tighter than normal, which is amazing. I love it.
Yeah. We have a lot of guys riding it on the TJ Mid.
Yeah, the TJ Mid is a freaking amazing board.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the Cadillac of the sea.
So, a lot of people don't really understand how much time you guys put into like one model. So from the time you guys think about it, it's an idea, to the time we get it in the stores and the public is buying it off the racks. How long does it usually take?
So put it this way, as we speak right now, I'm sending briefs to our designers for 2027. So, it takes about 16 months to get a board from concept through to the market. So, we spend, and that's like the first delivery. That's just like, so for example, our catalogs are out right now for 2026, right? So we've already started building our boards. We start building them ahead of time. So our factories will get their orders, and it takes about 4 months to get, depending on which region we're shipping into. It takes 3 to 4 months to get the boards through our factory on a container and out to our regions. But the development process for Kelly, for example, some of our boards are in development for 3 years. Kelly's incredible in the sense that he rides what he deems to be the next shape from any shaper. He's agnostic. And often we will get boards that we're like, whoa, that's who is this? What is this? Who is this? And before we know it, it's been like a year, 18 months, 2 years, and then we will look at it and we'll go, okay, we need to commercialize this. And then at the same time, we need to create a marketing plan that'll elevate that designer, because some of the designers are well known in the surf community, but to the broader surf community, they're not really well known. And so, we will then help groom those stories. Like Mike Wu, his story is rich. His relationship with Kelly is rich, but he's as a shaper in the broader sense of, the mass community, he's somewhat of like an unknown star. So we create the stories and bring that to market. Fortunately, the product speaks for itself. When the boards work, they work, and people are like, oh, this is amazing. But a lot of the time, the designers don't get the credit that's due. You get like Kelly is such an all-star guy that Dan Mann, for example, right? Dan Mann's, in my opinion, the best shaper walking this earth. He shapes everything from a prone knee board that will take you to Catalina Island, from here to longboards, to shortboards, to grovelers, to mid-lengths, to Kelly's boards, to you name it. He just won the shaper for the boardroom show against incredible shapers. But it's taken us since I've been in the brand and longer. Dan's been in the brand forever, but now Dan is like a household name. But it's taken 7 years to get him to come up beyond the namesakes of like Kelly, So like those are the things that we're really good at, is taking what Kelly has, and as the tip of the spear, here's our biggest test pilot, bringing stuff to market, and then we put it through our filters, our distribution, our factories, and we bring it to life. And we are very critical about being true to ourselves. So that is, so it just depends. Those lead times just depends on who we're working with. Rob, it's much quicker to market because Rob is right out down the street, and Rob is, very quick and easy to work with. And he's very commercial in the sense of like, he makes boards that, when I say commercial, I don't mean like sold out. I mean, like, he makes boards for crappy waves. If you look at the average wave conditions around the world, they're not 46 feet. They're 2 to 4 feet, and sometimes can crappy. So when you build a line of boards and you want to be profitable and be meaningful to people, you have to make sure that you cover off in those user moments that people actually will make them have a smile on their face when they finish a surf session, versus frustrated because they want to be cool in a shortboard but are not enjoying themselves.
Well, then a lot of them can't surf every day like the people in the industry.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they got to go on the weekends, and then that weekend can go to pot because they can't.
That's
They have
it.
to take care of business.
That's it. You got to get back to your kids and your obligations as a father.
Yeah. The honey-do list too.
Yeah, exactly. You get your hour surfing that makes you not crazy because it's like your spiritual connection with Earth and our source creator. Sorry, the ocean and our source creator. And that's why I look at surfers and they're like, everyone's like, why are surfers so chill? And it's like, because we are probably the most spiritual beings in the world, because we get to be one with the ocean at least once a week.
Yeah. So right now you guys have two, like you have the endorphins and then you have the Velox.
Yes.
So what is the difference between the two, and then what is there, like different categories for those fins, or?
Yeah, so we just launched Kelly's Rake fin, the KSR, which is so in the world of fins, rake fins are about 70% of what people use. 70% of the sales around the world globally. Pivot fins are for what a lot of the pro athletes will use when they're in the pocket in really good ways, because with pivot fins you need a bit of a push to have that fin come to life, and it also allows you to surf tight in the pocket, right? So rake fins are a little bit more, they give you more drive, they're more forgiving, and they allow you to get faster quicker. Your turns are more drawn out, but you have to be honest, most of the people in this world are not doing these snaps off the top. Not to say that you can't do that with a rake fin, you can, absolutely, they're amazing. However, the rake fin template is something that draws more sales. So as a fin company, if you don't have a rake fin, you're losing out. So Kelly's KS1 fin, which is the first fin we do with them, the endorphins fin, which, like I said, is a pivot fin, but as a thruster, full-on pivot setup. As a quad pivot with like rake fins in the back, which is a great blender. For anyone that hasn't bought KS1s and ridden them as a quad, go and get KS1s and ride them as a quad. Throw the trailer away and if you need, but that is in that setup is what Kelly goes to. That is Kelly's like go-to setup. We just released a rake fin set, which Kelly's been riding as a thrust as well. Like if you look at the fin board we just released with Mike Wu, the spaceship, he's been riding a lot of that with the rake fin because the spaceship is a drawn out. It's like a step up. To get your volume, you're going longer, which draws out your rail line, which forces you as a surfer to do longer arch turns, bladey pinched rails, so you can still sink your rail and dig in deep to make that pin tail come to life so that it's not like too stiff and too tracky. And then when you throw those rake fins on, just like Kelly said, it gives you that push and drive that just goes one with the wave. So if you're riding big open waves or down a point where you're just going to do big turns and then be in the barrel the thing is lightning fast and you just can thread the needle. That's where you want that combo. So the Velox fin was our first rake fin set that we put to market. However, it didn't come with an athlete. So it was kind of like this orphan where we had arguably like the Scarfini brothers, who are our design team and co-owners in Scarfini, which is our factory in South Africa. They are the biggest geek designers, and in my opinion, the best fin designers in the world. That has been their go-to fin that they've been selling for years. All we did was take it and basically launch it in the US with new colors and stuff. And a lot of people that ride that rake fin set are like, dude, the Velox is like the best rake fin set we've ever used. You got the whole endorphins thing, the fin floats, it's super light, it's insane flex profile. But then you fast forward, now we just released Kelly's rake fin set, and the difference is in the Velox you have a carbon, you have like a carbon veil, you got a carbon leading edge. It's a different flex profile. With Kelly, he wanted more traditional resins in there. The flex profile is very, very similar, and obviously the template's different. It's Kelly's like rake fin template that is used through the years. So, but but they can live side by side, but they are different, especially when you put them in the thruster setup. I'm a huge fan of the Kelly's fin, the rake fin. It's insane. And if you don't have a pair of good rakes that you like, try get the Kelly rake fin set, because you will not regret it. It's a really, really good fin set. Kelly's loving the fin set. So that's what develops us. It basically was our first rake fin set. And it took a long time for the KS1s, which is the pivot fin set, to take off. But now it's like we can't slow the thing down. It's just like keeps on just cranking. It's taken a long time for people to understand, oh shit, we can actually ride a pivot fin set and it really works, and it's quick and it is responsive and it's in the pocket, but still it's not going to like bog when I'm doing a turn, like if I don't have enough speed. So I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah, that's where the Velox fits in, and that's the story of the Velox. So it's a really great fin set if you're looking for a fin set.
So that new fin, do you think it's better for better waves or just everyday waves?
Yeah, Kenny's rake fin set, the KSR.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, rake fin sets are good, are going to always trump a pivot fin set for everyday waves, because you want that extra drive. You don't want to have to get out there and be like trying to pump and get your fins going. It's like it's foil, right? So like you think about an aircraft with pullback wings, it's just going to go faster out of the gates versus like slow down wings. You're pushing a lot of water through those fins, and when you want to do your turn, you're like right there, it's going to turn fast. But when you come to the turn, you're doing a little bit more work just to generate and keep that speed going. Whereas a rake is just going to be a little bit easier for you to get that speed. However, like I said, it's a trade-off. If you're surfing a beach break and want to stay in the pocket and there's enough push, then you can go back to your pivots and have more fun, because a rake is going to want to push you out further than you need. So you want to kind of stick in the pocket, go with the rake. And like I said, I'm a huge fan of quads, and I would go rake front, quads back, and then you've got the blend of both worlds.
Right on. That was a lot. I learned a lot too. Right on.
Yeah.
So in the board constructions you have, is it 3 or 4 different board constructions right now?
Well, we have exciting to say that people will get to know, because we are launching a limited edition of this new tech called ProFlex in next month. But we have 3 technologies, and then we have what we call lamination schedules. So the core internals of our boards are as such. We have Ibolic, which is, let me start with Helium, because Helium is where Firewire started. Helium was, Firewire's first technology, in the sense of really, really coming to market with something that was mind-blowing and technically advanced, in the sense that it had parabolic rails, a 0.8 pound core EPS, super lightweight core, which is expanded polystyrene foam, which is closed cell. So, and then you had a Dexin on the top, which is back in the day was EPP, which is expanded polypropylene foam. It's kind of like an EVA, a hard EVA that you'd see on a sandal, and that goes on the top deck, on the bottom deck. So the boards literally are shaped like 4 times. That's why our boards cannot be made in California. They would be just too expensive, right? And so we opted to start a factory in the middle of the kind of Australia and the US, where most our big regions are, to make boards that were affordable and responsible for the world. So Helium started there, super lightweight board. The Flex is built into those parabolic rails, which is high density paulownia wood. Back in the day, it was a blend between balsa and paulownia, but now we just do paulownia wood, super high density wood that gets wrapped into the board during the process of making the blank and shaping the board. So our blanks are made while the board is being shaped. We do a CNC. Those rails are dropped in. Then they are shaped again. We put a deck skin on. The deck skins are vacuum bag top deck, vacuum bag bottom deck, and then it is finished shaped, and then it is hand finished, and then it is laminated. Long process, but it's the only way you really can do it, to have those parabolic rails in. Those parabolic rails hold kinetic energy, and what that means is It's almost like if you looked at a bow and arrow, right? It's loaded. Those rails, those wooden rails are loaded. When they're built into the board, they're actually loaded. They hold, when they're bent into the board, there's kinetic energy that's bent in there. It's almost like you're holding a stick and you want to let it go and it wants to go straight. So when you do a turn on a Helium board, the board is taken beyond its load as it is. So it's already got load in there, about 8%. When you go beyond it, it comes out, and that's why when you ride a Helium board, you come out of your turns. Like if you do a roundhouse cutback on a PU board, and you take that same shape and you put it on Helium, you'll come out of the roundhouse cutback on a Helium like spring loaded. Like you'll want to come off the foam, right? So with Ibolic, our second tech, we were chartered to create a new technology for Kelly that allowed us to have EPS boards with eco, laminated resins and such, to have a more responsible board in the sense of how we build our boards, but have it feel a little bit more like a PU in the sense how it's sat in the water, but also have the liveliness of what comes with EPS and epoxy, because epoxy boards are way more lively. What came with Kelly's launching of this new tech was performance surfers that are busting airs and doing stuff that's just ludicrous. Busting airs, landing on the flat, especially when it came to like the wave pools, which Kelly was, he's the godfather of wave pools. So we, during COVID, created this new process of making boards, patented process called Bed-Free 2. An amazing process. We have no waste in our factory in the sense that all our waste is collected and we do all the secondary product, paving stones and other stuff with our waste. But what it allowed us to do is really put in parabolic rails and then an I-beam stringer down the center to create this additional strength in this board. So we added in like an internal like skeletal structure, like we gave it a full-on reinforced backbone, and then we put these parabolic rails in to have more torsional flex control and stability in those rails. So Ibolic came out, and immediately out of the gates, people were just like, holy crap, this is what we need. This is a PU on steroids. So Ibolic came out, and so we have Helium, which is like our everyday, it is like the cheating surfboard. It is a border suspension. It's got this built-in flex. I always call it cheating. I love the technology. We have the Dominator Pro came out, which was my attempt to put a performance board in Helium. It's really the first real performance board. We had the Dominator 2, which is an everyday board for like everyday surfers, not necessarily a performance board with the dims of performance board and the rail profile, very bladey. The rocker, the entry rocker, tail rocker, very much performance. Dan shaped an incredible board there. It is actually the favorite board amongst everyone. Dylan Slater, go-to board. Chewy Rayner, go-to board. Chewy's doing top turns on the board like an 18-year-old. It's absolutely bonkers. I believe it's because of the combination of just an incredible shape plus the technology. So that board's just released, and it's kind of in the back. We literally just released it 2 months ago. It's back quivering, waiting for a big winter swell to come through. But it is hands down, like it's Firewire favorite, the Dominator Pro. No athlete tied to it, just Dan Mann as a shaper. Kevin Schultz freaking loves that board. Everyone loves that board. Sebastian Williams loves that board. So the list goes on and on and on. So we have Helium, we have Ibolic, and now we're just releasing ProFlex. And ProFlex is our carbon board. So we created, we could not ignore Kelly riding all these boards, including dark arts, and he just loves carbon. So we pushed against it for a while in the sense of like trying to find something that was meaningful for us in Firewire, because we just didn't want to come out with another carbon board. So we tried everything. We tried all our builds, wrapping them in carbon and stuff, and our boards were just too stiff, too clunky, and it was carbon is like great, but it's just not performing. The boards are just not performing. And that is, if our boards do not perform, we don't release the tech. And so me and my team went back and forth working with Kelly and the whole athlete team. And we've found a combination of the type of carbon we use, which wrapped around an inch around the rail. So carbon, when it's lateral, has no real additional strength other than piercing strength. It's very, it's used in a lot of things in the world because its piercing strength is strong. However, if it breaks, it's brittle. It's not that strong in the sense of what it's going to bring to a surfboard relative to like what people think. Like our break tests on our carbon boards in the past have been the same as our Heliums. So it's like our Heliums are so strong. So anyways, long story short, we created an internal build that is like, there's no stringers in our build. The entire flex profile of the ProFlex is on the exoskeleton of this board, where we spent hours and hours and hours and days and days and days going through different variations of what would work. So it's wrapped around about an inch, like a half an inch over, it's the rail apex, an inch over. Then we have a T10 deck skin, which is a aerospace deck skin. Underneath that deck skin is a Technora strip, which is like a carbon cage that runs the whole way up between the deck skin and the blank. And sorry, deck skin and the core. The core is a 1.5 pound EPS core. And then on top of that is our regular lamination schedule, which is a 4 ounce S-cloth. And so that allows us to have white decks so that the wax doesn't melt. But also you got a deck skin so you don't get all those dents of your knee and everything else. So the board doesn't look like after a couple of days that you're like, oh my God, I just spent $1,000+ on a board and it looks like it's 4 years old. So, but the deck skin and the torsional control of this Technora and the stringer gives this board exactly what we needed in the sense of forgiving flex that would be traditionally found on a carbon board that's been broken in. Carbon traditionally takes some time to break in before. They're very stiff at first, but once you break them in, they are money. So that's what we wanted to get. And so we've gone through all these different versions, came out with this version. So you'll see a limited edition of spaceships coming out next month, just before Christmas. So look out. I'm sure there will be a bunch coming to you guys. Insane option for Hawaii step up because you got the carbon, give you that extra strength, longevity, and you get this incredible ping off this board as well. So it's like really, and it's not a killer weight too. So like it is the Formula One version of whatever we make. So total different core profile, total different flex profile in the sense that the flex is controlled on the outside, which is we traditionally are known for our cores. And so we're really excited to bring this out. Kelly's super excited. All our athletes have them and are just like frothing over them. So that is what we are launching this year, and it goes into 26 as well with a couple models. So we don't come out with all the text and all our models. We handpick which user moment, what type of waves that the boards are built for. Similar to the fins. When we design fins, they're usually married with the board because we like to make sure that we are testing the combination of the two. So we try to make it easier for our retailers to go, hey, if they really have a question about what fins to use on the board, it was designed with this fin in mind. So if we want to change it, as we all know, like fins are fun because you can change them up all the time, changes your board depending on the conditions. But just for the sakes of like the madness of so many choices on that fin wall, hey, try this one first and then just go from there. So that is what techs we have right now. So again, Helium, super light, Cadillac with the C's, that suspension, it's just like cheating. Ibolic, which is just real control, got you like speed control in and out of your turns, super robust in the sense of its longevity and its quality. And again, it's kind of like the PU on steroids. And then you've got ProFlex, which is taking it to the next level where you just got absolute incredible longevity with your carbon, super lightweight. It's not too light where it's going to be choppy in the winds and stuff. But again, all the flex controls on the outside. So lots of responsiveness out of your turns, and especially off the lip. On those ProFlex off the lip, you can just feel it. It's just, really good feeling when you're surfing. Yeah, so those are the three. And then in longboards, we have similar stuff. We have like a variable flex technology in our longboards, but the same concept. We have all internal builds, Helium, and then we got a kind of like a hybrid with Ibolic and some of our volcanics. But yeah, that's pretty much it for all our technologies. And like I said earlier, we do have a lamination schedule with volcanic, which is basalt, which is a volcanic fiber. It's more of an eco version to carbon, traditional carbon. So we've had that tradition in the boards. You'll see it in a number of our boards. But moving forward, we are looking at just sunsetting some of that and making way for some of this new technology, because the creating whether it be a volcanic board from basalt or carbon boards is very, very time consuming. The vacuum bag team at our factory, it takes a lot of time for these boards to be made. So we can't make a lot of them as a result. So yeah, we have to kind of play the shell game of like, where does this vacuum bag opportunity, where is it? Is it in ProFlex, the Formula Ones, or is it in like Volcanics, which is just primarily just like a really stronger version of the boards that we currently have? But honestly, our boards are so strong as it is. It's like, I always say to people, like, why? Like, we used to make Volcanics for all the wave pools, and then we looked at them and we're like, hey, the only difference between the Volcanics for the wave pools and our normal boards is the Volcanics get hotter because they darker colors. Like, there's no real benefit other than piercing. So if you are a beginner and you're dropping your board all the time, fair enough. But if you're like an everyday surfer, the board's going to last the same amount of time.
So the people that don't really understand vacuum bagging, can you just go over that briefly?
Yeah, so in the world of making surfboards, you have regular lamination, which is basically you have the blank, finished blank. It's been shaped, finished off, and you have to put the cloth over it. So you basically are now putting all your laminations on the boards. You wet them out so that they're stuck on the board, so like your logos. And then you lay your cloth over, and you cut your cloth around the perimeter of that shape. And then you mix your resin with your hardness so that it's activated and ready to go. And then you pour that resin over the cloth, and you pull it and you wet it out with a squeegee. Once you've basically wet it all out, then you've got to pull all the resin out of the cloth so that it gets its light weight. It's got to be saturated, so it's not getting dry weave, but it's got to be, you don't want too much resin and it gets super heavy, and then you got to sand it all down and you get sand throughs. So that is like top, and you do in the world of how we do it different ways, right? We'll do our tops first because we have deck skins, then we do our bottom decks. But in the traditional PU worlds, they'll do the bottom deck and then they'll do the top deck. And so it's usually one on the bottom, two on the top. And then with vacuum bag, you're basically it's the same process, but you don't just leave the board on the trestle to dry and cure, and then it goes up to the sanding bays. With a vacuum bag, what you're doing is you basically are wetting out the same process. You cut all you wet the lambs out, put them on, you put the cloth in, exactly the same process. You wet everything out, and then once it's all wet out, you put a release paper on the top of the top deck and the bottom deck, and then it's got this secondary. It's kind of almost like it feels like wool, like cotton wool, but it's flat. It's a non-woven membrane that goes in, and then it goes into this plastic bag that is sealed up. And then it's put under vacuum. So it is vacuum sealed, similar to like you vacuum seal food. So all the air is pulled out. So what happens is all the little bubbles and imperfections that are wrapped around that, including like laminations, carbon stringers, it all gets flattened perfectly. And so that process, it sits in this bag and then it goes into these special racks that then just sit in these racks. But when that board comes out and the peel ply is taken off and all the membranes are taken off, that board is like just almost, you're basically putting finished coats on and you're just water papering the thing off. Well, for us, we put finished coats, water paper, then it goes into a 2K spray, and our 2K is a UV stabilizing spray that helps our boards stay whiter for longer, because epoxies typically will go brown. It's just the makeup, especially the bioresins that we make ourselves, through time they traditionally gone brown. So we have special UV stabilizers, both in our resin and in our 2K finish. So that's the process of vacuum bagging. So those bags, they take longer, and then they take up a lot of space and machinery to create those vacuums. So that's what vacuum bagging is.
That's an awesome explanation. So now we have some new technology coming out, and we're going to be, we're excited.
Yeah, and our new Ibolic 2, which is coming out next year, whiter, brighter, and lighter boards. It's amazing. So look forward to that. We've changed our deck skins to be the same as the Helium deck skins, which is the MPP, the modified polypropylene. So we're really excited about that, because now all our boards, for retailers especially, Ibolic was always like we use a T10, which is a little thinner, more let's call it a less malleable deck skin than the MPP. But now we're able to kind of get the MPP in the sheets that we need that will allow us to use it on the Ibolic. So we're really excited about that, because the boards are just white, So like you see the Heliums, they're super white, and then you'll see like our Ibolic in the past next to them, it looks a little dull, like you need to brush your teeth. But the new Ibolics, I'm so excited for that. And then ProFlex. Yeah, ProFlex is the Formula One. You've got to check it out. You guys will see it soon. We're releasing next month.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
So for people that ask, what's the best way to care for the boards? Just like a standard board? Don't keep it in the hot sun, or
hey, you know what? The sun is the devil to surfboards, especially for epoxies, and the heat. You know, don't keep your board. You know, keep your board in a cover, and keep your board out of a hot car. You know, and your board will be your best friend for a long time. You know, if you're going to keep it in a hot car, and you know, like if your wax is melting, that's your temperature gauge. Don't let your wax melt. You know, like get your board in a cover, keep it cool, keep it clean. If you get a ding, got to get those dings fixed. Epoxies are a little bit more forgiving, closed cell foam, but yeah, if you get a ding, just get it fixed. You know, don't let it drag on. You know, it's like you're getting, you know, a cavity in your teeth. You don't want to like just let it go.
What's the best way to get the water out of the board?
If you've had enough practice with your girlfriend making out with a girl, you know, just go at it, guys. Let your imagination run.
Just look at that thing.
Yeah, like honestly, just try and get it off the ground and just let it breathe for a while. I always try and tell people, hey, if you do have water in your board, suck it out as much as you can, and then let your board dry, like just not in a hot place, but in just a place where it can just escape before you do a ding repair. Otherwise, you're just going to have water in there that's going to expand and make what's a D-lam. Number one thing for D-lams is water. You know, so like even in new boards, you may get a pinhole, which is a defect. Water will get in that pinhole and cause a problem. You know, just call us, customer service, we'll get it sorted out. But yeah, heat is the big thing. Sun and heat. You keep your boards out of, and also like if you're going to put your board in a board cover, make sure it's a breathable board cover, because steam, you know, like epoxies and PE resins are not, they're permeable. The water goes in them slowly. They like, plastic will ingest it. So like if you put your board in a board cover that's just like those polypropylene board covers, and you're just leaving your car, it's going to be a steam bag. You're going to steam your stuff. The water's going to get in there way quicker than anything else, because it's steam getting in there. It's still water. It actually permeates much quicker. It's much worse for your board. So I always say, hey, board socks, if you're not traveling, board socks are the best. You know, so put your board in a board sock, nice and breathable, and keep it out of the direct sunlight, and you should be good to go. Fix those things.
Get rid of those board bags that have foil on both sides.
You don't need. I mean, if they're breathable, fine, good. We found with the one thing with in those board covers that are just the plastic ones, you know, it's plastic at the end of the day. If they're not vented, good luck. You know, that thing is just, you know, it's like a bag of rice in a steam bag. You know, it's cooking. Yeah. So just be cautious. Be mindful of that. Some of those board bags are great. They make great board bags if you're traveling, but I'm not a huge believer that unless you got boards stacked in the back of your truck and they're bouncing around, yeah, sure, but just be very mindful. Like if you're putting a board in there, dry your board out. Don't have wet stuff. Don't put your wetsuit in your board bag and then put it in your car. Worst thing for your board ever. Get your wetsuit out, put it in a separate bag, then put it in your board bag. It's going to be terrible for your board. So like my whole game is like, if I'm going to be in a plastic board, plastic, you know, fibered board bag, like polypropylene board bag, I even take my leash off, you know, and take it out, because I don't want it bouncing around, and B, that the neoprene on your cuff is going to carry water, and if it's going to steam up, it's just not good. I'm just very sensitive about it, but that is your rule of thumb. Do not put wet stuff in your board bag with your board. It's going to steam your board. Keep if possible, get a board sock. Hawaiian South Shore makes great board socks. The mesh one that you guys make is an incredible one. We actually have a mesh one as well now in our line, and that is like a game changer, because it gives you a little bit more sponginess, but it's breathable. And you know, you guys have everyone that's out there, so highly encourage you guys to get board socks versus board bags if you can.
I think a lot of people throw wet stuff inside their board bag.
Yeah, I see it all the time. I'm like, hey, don't do that. And they're like, wow, it makes my car wet, and it's going to ruin your board if you're leaving your board in here. Just be mindful of that. Don't cook your boards.
Right on. Yay! Thank you very much. That was really informative, man. Yeah.
Anytime, dude. That's what we do. Yeah.
Right on. Finally got to
Anytime.
meet you. I heard your name so much throughout the years. Right on. All right. Hey, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Cool, man. Thanks a lot, man. Have a good weekend.
All right, you
Woo!
too.
Stay safe, everyone.